Our next guest is Governor Jim Doyle, who is of counsel and a healthcare lawyer with Foley and Lardner. Governor Doyle served 8 years as governor of the state of Wisconsin. Prior to his election, Governor Doyle served 12 years as Wisconsin's Attorney General. Prior to that, he was the Dane County District Attorney and a lawyer in private practice. Governor Doyle is a graduate of Harvard Law School and earned his bachelor's degree from the University of Wisconsin-Madison after attending Stanford University for 3 years. Governor Doyle is currently chair of the Kaiser Family Foundation. He has received numerous awards for his public service, including the Law Foundation's Charles Goldberg Distinguished Service Award. I'm pleased to introduce Governor Doyle.
I'm following Justice Wilcox's example. Thank you, Peggy, for the very kind introduction. And I want to say it's good to see, even by Zoom, so many of my good friends, including Governor Thompson, taking time out of his time as president of the university now for this moment. I want to share as well in the congratulations to Justice Wilcox. For many years, we were in that Capitol together. He was always, as he is today, one of the most gracious, thoughtful, considerate people that you will find in public life. And I know it's hard at times to keep from getting nostalgic, but there was at a time in which that kind of civility really was a hallmark of not only Wisconsin politics, but our court and other places. And I thank him for everything he did and congratulate him on this recognition. To Justice Prosser and Geske, it's good to see you as well. I was particularly happy to see Justice Geske on CNN a couple of nights ago, and so I'm glad that she is still as active as she is. Well, it was my great personal honor to appoint Louis Butler to the Wisconsin Supreme Court. I had known Louis for many years. He was a well-known public defender in Milwaukee, where he had built a reputation for fearless defense, for being willing to do what was unpopular, but what the legal system called on him to do, for helping countless people entangled in the legal system in ways who needed help, and Louis was always there. He coupled his great scholarship and legal abilities with a wicked humor, one of the only people that can trash talk golf, but Louis can do it. And he was a dear friend to my sister and brother-in-law and others during those years. We are so lucky in Wisconsin to have Lawrence University. It has brought a lot of great people to this state, and Louis Butler is one of them. It's through Lawrence and then on to the University of Wisconsin that he gave up his Illinois allegiance and truly became a Badger. And because of Lawrence, this state has had the benefit of Louis's great talents and abilities over all these years. When I appointed him, it was a pretty easy appointment. Here is a person who had a great legal background, who had distinguished himself as a municipal court judge and a circuit judge for Milwaukee County. And I will say, and I'm going to come to this in a moment, it was a historic appointment for this court, and one that was badly and is still badly needed. Louis understood his special role. He was out in the public frequently. He was in schools all of the time. And I can't help but think about how often you little kids could look at Louis Butler and say, there is a justice of the Wisconsin Supreme Court. On the court, Louis was known for his scholarship, but maybe most important in the public mind, at least those of us who watched the court, was his collegiality. Louis brought a sense of collegiality to that court. His friendship with Justice Crooks became legendary. And Louis's good humor and civility, very much in the tradition of Justice Wilcox, was of very great benefit for that court. If I can get even more serious here for a minute, though, this is a time in our history as Americans that we are being called to really look at the issue of racial justice in this country. And we are called to really explore in our own minds whether we understand that African American people in this country have a tougher road to hoe than others. And Louis Butler is an example. What happened to him in that election is something we ought to all go back and explore and think about carefully. He was the subject of dishonest, untruthful ads that attacked him as a public defender as if that was some kind of dishonorable job to have. And even more, he was attacked as being an African-American public defender. And there were ads that any reasonable person looking at could see how racist they were. Louis handled that in that campaign with the grace that has characterized him. We saw a system in this state that really couldn't respond to what it had seen. Despite a complaint from the Judicial Commission, our court could not find a way to do something to discourage this kind of conduct in the future. But this is the most tremendous thing about Louis Butler. It is truly the measure of this man. And this is where I ask people to really explore whether they could do this. After being subject of that campaign and having to leave a court that he loved dearly and that he had served so well, Louis never devolved into bitterness. He never devolved into cynicism. He never left the basic mission of his life, which is equal justice. He has continued in his life after being a justice to be a fellow in residence at the law school, to teach law, to be a mentor to young lawyers all over the state, to serve the state bar and the Wisconsin, the Law Foundation and fellows with great distinction, and to continue to have his fight for equal justice. I thought our own Marquette University's Doc Rivers summed up much of what we've been through in the last few months as well as anybody has, where he said, and I want to get the quote right, in which he says, "It's amazing that we keep loving this country and this country does not love us back." We love Louis Butler. He loves the court. He loves the legal system. And this recognition is a time when we can show him that we love him back. Louis, you have been an exemplary lawyer, judge, justice, citizen of the state, a wonderful father, wonderful husband to Irene, and a father to your daughters and grandfather. It's a privilege to know you. It was a privilege to have appointed you to the Supreme Court. And I thank you for all that you've done to the state, for the state of Wisconsin. Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you, Governor Doyle. Our guest, Justice Janine Geske, received her bachelor's and master's degree from Beloit College and her law degree from Marquette University's School of Law. Justice Geske previously served as the Chief Staff Attorney for the Legal Aid Society of Milwaukee. She has been a professor at Marquette University Law School and was the director of the Marquette University Law School's Clinic for the Elderly, which she founded. In addition, Justice Geske served in the Milwaukee County Circuit Court for 12 years until she was appointed to the Wisconsin Supreme Court by Governor Tommy Thompson, later winning election. She is on the faculty of the National Judicial College and is a fellow in the American Bar Association. She received both the Marquette University Law School Alumna Award and the Alumna of the Year Award from Marquette University. Among her many accomplishments as a public servant, she is a former interim county executive for Milwaukee, as well as former interim dean for Marquette Law School. Today, Justice Geske remains on the faculty of Marquette and continues with her own alternative dispute resolution practice. I'm pleased to introduce you to Justice Geske.
Thank you, Peggy. Thank you. I'm so honored to be able to spend a few minutes to talk about my good friend Louis and his wonderful career. I too, like Governor Doyle, want to recognize John Wilcox and congratulate John on being recognized for his incredible career. I sort of chuckle, John, when Governor Thompson talks about you not always deciding for him and maybe following the Constitution, because you and I were on a couple of those decisions where Tommy wasn't too happy with us. But ultimately, you were a wonderful colleague. We spent a lot of time together working on dissents, and I miss seeing you as much as we used to see each other. But Louis, it's really my privilege to be able to talk a little bit about you. And it's kind of hard to follow Governor Doyle because he was so eloquent in his remarks about you. As he pointed out, you were originally from Illinois, and we were lucky enough for you to come to Wisconsin to get your education and then to ultimately devote your professional career and your public service to this state. And you have served us all well in so many ways. Lawrence has recognized you, with an honorary doctorate. I know you've been on the board there, and it's just a small honor for the wonderful work that you have done. You have a wonderful family, your wife Irene and the children and your grandchildren, and they are as much a testament of your good work and grace as your professional work. But your life of devotion to public service in Wisconsin is truly remarkable. And you and I met, I think, Louis, when you were a public defender and I was on the bench. And Louis's briefs and arguments, particularly when he was in the appellate office, were of the highest quality of any briefs we would receive. His writing was always scholarly, on point, and very persuasive. And I remember just being delighted whenever I saw a post-conviction motion come through that had Louis's name on it, because I knew it would be the highest quality brief, and I would be able to learn the law on that point and hopefully really render a just decision. Louis served a public defender for a long time, and in addition to working both originally in the trial office and then ultimately in the appellate office, just as importantly, he started his teaching career at Marquette University Law School, spending time with law students who were interns in the public defender office. And I know helping them to understand the mixing of law and the compassion of being a public defender. And they benefited from you during those years. Louis went on to be a Milwaukee Municipal Court judge, and we often forget that because he has such an illustrious career. But that is a very important court in Milwaukee. It is a court that serves the poorest of the poor, people without voices, people without lawyers. And Louis broke barriers in terms of turning that courtroom into a courtroom of decorum and respect and spending time with each litigant despite the hundreds of cases that came through. He was known around the community as a judge who was compassionate but just. And then he ascended, as some people think, but he came to the circuit court and became a wonderful Milwaukee County Circuit Court judge. And I was thrilled when he came to the court because I knew he would be an excellent trial court judge, as he was. Louis has the respect of all people who appear in front of him, regardless of what side they were on in terms of litigation, because he was respectful, he was thoughtful, and he always approached a legal issue in a scholarly way. And one of the things that Louis is excellent at is teaching the parties and people who in front of him why he's deciding the way he is. He's a legal encyclopedia. We haven't talked about that, but Louis is always spewing cases, and I just nod because I don't know them. But Louis is a great font of legal knowledge, but he is very proud of that. And it helps people understand why the courts operate the way they do. I was thrilled, Governor Doyle, when you appointed him to the Wisconsin Supreme Court. I'm sorry that I did not get to serve with him. But Louis, you were a great justice, and you broke lots of barriers, including, obviously, a person of color, but also to be a public defender who came to that court with the incredible experience you'd had in the municipal court and the circuit court. you were a great colleague to everybody on that court, and Governor Doyle has mentioned that. But the sadness that many of us experience, that collegiality has disappeared from a number of courts across the country, whether it's federal courts or state courts. And Louis, you were one of those very special people that had a bridge to all sides, and people listened to you and respected you, even when they disagreed with you. You've had remarkable success in your professional life. You were a justice in residence at UW Law School. You were on the faculty of the National Judicial College. You've been recognized for all your good work in judicial independence. And I would be amiss if I did not mention what Governor Doyle mentioned, was that campaign that changed, unfortunately, what happens at our state Supreme Court races. It was horrible what happened to you. In terms of those acts and those lies that went unpunished. And you went through that race with such grace. And even after the race, I so admired the grace and the kindness and how you use that to go on and fight for judicial independence. You did not go down and complain about it, obviously, except when you're drinking a beer with us. But otherwise, you were out there fighting for judicial independence across this country, and you have had an important voice in that, and will continue to have a voice in that. You've given wonderful years of service to the Wisconsin Foundation and the Wisconsin Fellows, and in addition to all your good work, you have committed to the importance of diversity in our bar and in that institution, that we make sure that we are attentive to all people, all lawyers, all people, so that we are not an exclusive club. And you have worked hard to increase the equity that occurs in our profession. You are known most so for your civility and your commitment to justice. And you will always be remembered for that, for the fact that you care about the least amongst us, that you care for the poor, that you love the law, and that you have truly had a great career. So I will warmly congratulate you for this honor. It is richly deserved.
Thank you, Justice Guskey. As we've heard, Justice Louis Butler was appointed to the Supreme Court by Governor Jim Doyle, becoming the first African-American Supreme Court justice in Wisconsin history. Born in Chicago, Justice Butler was raised on the city's south side. He earned his bachelor's degree from Lawrence University in Appleton and his law degree from the University of Wisconsin Law School. After serving as an assistant state public defender, Justice Butler was appointed to the Milwaukee Municipal Court. He served as a municipal judge and was then elected to Branch 9 of the Milwaukee County Circuit Court. Justice Butler is the recipient of numerous awards. He was named Humanitarian of the Year by the American Federation of Teachers Local 212 and has won the NAACP Foot Soldiers Award and the Outstanding Citizens Award from the Wisconsin Council of Deliberations Prince Hall Masons. In addition, he has twice received the Trailblazer Award presented by Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. Justice Butler is a permanent member of the faculty of the National Judicial College in Reno, where judges from around the nation take continuing education classes, and serves as a member of the bench in the Southwestern Law School Moot Court competition in Los Angeles. He was also an adjunct assistant professor of law at Marquette Law School. As mentioned earlier, Justice Butler, a Law Foundation Fellow, continues to serve on both the Wisconsin Law Foundation's Board of Directors, as well as the Fellows of the Wisconsin Law Foundation Board as past president. I am honored to introduce you to Justice Butler.
Thank you, Peggy. Thank you very much. And it's indeed an honor to be here and to be recognized with John Wilcox for all that he's done for the Wisconsin Law Foundation, and the fine, kind words from Justice Prosser and from Governor Thompson for Justice Wilcox, and as well as for me. I thank you both for that, and it's nice to be here with you, John, and to be recognized. I've got a couple of things that I want. You can't do this alone, and there's some thank yous I have to make. And first of all, Governor Doyle, thank you for the wonderful words that you had this afternoon in introduction. I can tell you that I met your mother before I ever met you, who was a registrar at the law school, who tried to keep us in line when we were out there doing things we weren't supposed to be doing. So that was wonderful. I was able to follow your career along the way. And I have to tell you, you kind of touched upon it. The pinnacle of one's career is to get to a court that you have so long practiced in front of, and to have been appointed by you to the Wisconsin Supreme Court meant a lot to me, but more importantly, it meant a lot to all of the young Black boys and girls who are out there who could look at that appointment and think, yes, I have a chance to get there. Maybe I can do something like that. So, and I remember that day that I was sworn in very well at the state capitol first, and then at the War Memorial in Milwaukee. And the pride that I saw on people's faces to see that this had finally happened in Wisconsin. I can only hope that it happens again soon. Once is not enough. I can say that. Justice Geske, I remember the times practicing in front of you. I remember one time, and quite frankly, that you got mad at me because of a conflict I ran into on the eve of trial. I don't know if you remember that, but on the eve of trial on a homicide case, and we had this office conflict that blew up, and Justice Geske was looking at me kind of cross-eyed, and it's like, well, gee, I wonder, is he just trying to get out of this trial, or is this real? But it was real. But to have the opportunity to practice in front of you, you're such a scholarly judge, a good judge, and then when Governor Thompson appointed you to the Wisconsin Supreme Court, that meant a lot to a lot of people around the state as well. And it was an honor to be there, to watch your career. And I can honestly say, you've done a great deal since you've left the court. I mean, I look at your work on restorative justice. I look at what you've done to fight for judicial independence and your fights on the judicial recusal rule in Wisconsin. It meant a lot to a lot of retired judges that we stand up to make sure that our justice system is an independent one and free from constraints that might otherwise cause problems. So thank you for that. I want to thank the state bar. I mean, I think of George Brown and the work we did with George, and then Larry Martin coming in, and then the staff of the state bar. Beth Drake has staffed us well over the years, and the work that she's done. But it's also the members of the foundations board and the members of the fellows board. I think back and both Justice Geske, Governor Doyle, as well as Governor Thompson have kind of alluded to this period of civility. I think about the people that we worked with on that board, people like Tom Schreiner, and he's just one of many, and his concerns about making sure that we had a great group of fellows that we could bring in, but that we also made sure that they aspired to the criteria that we held important. That we wanted people who were great lawyers. We wanted people who were not just great lawyers, but people who did public service and people who did service to the bar. Those were the three criteria that we looked at. So I go back and I think about the call that I got from John Axelrod in 2013. Now, John was a longtime friend of mine. But John is this kind of person who didn't say no to very often. And John called me to ask if I would become the membership chair when he took over as president of the fellows. And he had some marching orders for me. And I didn't know what I was really getting into. And he said, Louis, we have this wonderful organization. And I knew because I had been inducted in 2008. I was a fellow. In fact, I was at the dinner with Justice Wilcox and Justice Prosser in 2008 in Appleton. So I remember that event very well. So John Axelrod said, we have a great organization, but it's not diverse enough. We need government lawyers. We need women lawyers. We need outstate lawyers. We need out-of-state lawyers. We need people of color. And I want you to come in, and I want you to keeping in mind the criteria that we look at for members of the fellows, kind of shake things up and let's broaden this group out so that we can do what's right by the state bar. That was John's marching orders to me. And I took it to heart. We had a great committee. We worked hard to make sure that we met the criteria. We wanted people of excellence to become fellows, but we did want to expand this, and we did a lot that we, as much as we could, to make sure that this worked out well for the state bar, for the state of Wisconsin, and for the foundation. The foundation does wonderful work. We've already heard from Justice Wilcox about the mock trial program. There's a number of scholarships that are awarded, educational programs. This is just a great charitable organization on behalf of the state bar, and we should keep that into account. One has to remember that you don't get to a place like this on your own, and you can't do it without the support of your loved ones. So when I think of the sacrifices that were made by my family, by my wife, by my children, by my grandchildren, I'm out there doing a lot of things for a lot of people, and I'm not always at home when I needed to be. And so that's something that I keep in mind. But they understood the necessity of trying to make sure that we did the right things, that we tried to make sure that this system worked for everybody. Justice Wilcox will tell you, John will tell you, that he and I didn't agree on a lot of things when I was on the court, but there were two things that we agreed on very solidly. One was our commitment to the Wisconsin Law Foundation, and the other was the fact that it wasn't just the two of us. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention this. Governor Doyle kind of alluded to it. But Justice Crooks was also a member of this group. There were, for 38 years, he served on the board together. He was a dear friend of all of ours. And I'd be remiss if I didn't take into account his service to the Wisconsin Law Foundation as well. And I just want to take a moment to recognize him for his service as well. But to be recognized for doing what one thinks is right, to be recognized for doing what one should be doing, is a blessing in addition to an honor. So I want to thank the Wisconsin Law Foundation. I want to thank my colleagues from the court. I want to thank Governors Thompson and Doyle. This means a great deal to me, and hopefully the foundation will continue to do that great work going forward, and we can continue to make Wisconsin a great place to live. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Justice Butler, and congratulations again on being honored tonight. As we conclude tonight's gathering, I want to thank Larry Martin, Beth Drake, Philip Henkel, our special guests, our honorees, and all of those involved in making this event happen. And now I simply ask everyone to join me in raising an ice-cold Wisconsin beverage in a toast to outstanding leaders in the law, in their communities, in our state, and the Wisconsin Law Foundation. To Justices John Wilcox and Louis Butler. You two are terrific, and you are quite deserving of this honor. Cheers.